Amanda. Now, when I was invited to come, I naturally asked, in what capacity am I being invited? I asked, am I being invited as your employer? As the President of the Republic? Or as the President of the ANC? I was told that no, we are inviting you as the President of the ANC. And now, as you started singing, I welcome the fact that I'm here as President of the ANC. Because you were singing about another chap called Matamela. Nisebenza kanzima for uMatamela and nifuna ukuyinyova. So I didn't want to be part of that. But President, you make the impact a lot more manageable and acceptable when you confirm that you are members of the African National Congress. I welcome that. In fact, I love it. Even if you are not a member, just applaud now. I also welcome the softening of the blow when you say, President, don't worry, no masizomacha union buildings. We still love you and we are still members of the ANC. I like that. May you continue doing that too. Comrades, it's a joy and a pleasure to be amongst you, but also to have spent quite a bit of time with President Popcru before this Congress, some months before the Congress, when we discussed the role of Popcru in our country, and when we also discussed a number of initiatives and strategies for fighting crime. It was quite enlightening coming from a person who is deeply immersed in our criminal justice system, who leads an important organization like Popcru. We also had a moment to have a further discussion just before I came in. And it was consistent, and I want to applaud President Popcru that what he and I have discussed over the few times touches on the important issues that confront our people in relation to poverty, inequality, unemployment, as well as fighting crime. He also took time to tell me about what my sister, Riapiecha, was reporting here, and was saying that you established a foundation some time ago, which is doing marvelous work. And when I listen to my sister, Riapiecha, I can see that indeed the decision that you took to establish the foundation is indeed paying a great deal of fruit. To have trained 30,000 young people for an organization like yours is a phenomenal achievement. And let's give the foundation a round of applause. My presence here, comrades, speaks to the very important ties that bind the ANC and Popcru as part of the revolutionary movement together. And this relationship was best described by Isitwalandwe Chief Albert Lutuli when he said that the union movement is the spear and the ANC is the shield. In essence, This means that COSATU, as the successor to SACTU of the time, and Popcru, and a number of affiliates in COSATU are both integral to the struggle of our people. And therefore, you are the spear. And in the end, the African National Congress, or better still, the broader movement, is the shield. Working together becomes important in times when we face severe challenges. And I will speak about what President Popcru said about fighting crime and how our failure to work together in the criminal justice system can be a problem and a big challenge in as far as fighting crime is concerned. But I'll come to that. South Africans have always shown that we are a people of great courage and determination, especially in the face of adversity. When the going gets tough, that's when we as South Africans exude a great deal of courage, a great deal of determination. That is when our real DNA comes to the fore to demonstrate precisely who we are. We have most recently seen this fighting spirit of South Africans displayed on the sports field as our teams, particularly rugby, the Springboks, had to fight their way to the final through the quarterfinals, the semi-finals, and finally the finals. And that spirit of fighting and determination runs deeper and has endured far longer in our people as they have fought their own struggles. We can trace this back, comrades, to the slave revolts in the Cape, when those who had been enslaved fought back. We can trace it back to the wars of resistance against colonialism. We can trace this back to how our own movement was formed. In 1912, it was formed to fight back and never to give up, even though our land had been taken away. We can trace this back to the Communist Party of South Africa, to the ICU, to SACTU, to Umkhonto weSizwe. We can trace it back to the Bambata Rebellion, and we can trace it back to how you as workers got together and said, we are going to form a federation that is going to fight back and fight for our rights. And this is what has constituted you. As Popcru, you are an organization that has been formed to wage struggle, to make sure that you win better rights for your members, better rights for those who work and toil. And you say they work for Matamela. I don't know that, but that's what you were formed for. Driven by this determination, we overcame the system of apartheid. We brought to an end of the political violence that had been unleashed against our people, and we brought through a democratic transition, and we adopted a democratic constitution and entrenched the rights of workers in our Bill of Rights and progressive legislation. These are important markers of history that we need to be alive to, that even as we sit here in latter-day beneficiaries of the struggles of the past, we should remember how history unfolded to bring us where we are, and how those who fought to bring about these changes actually sacrificed a great deal. Now we must harness that fighting spirit to overcome the legacy of centuries of deprivation and oppression of the majority of the people of our country. When one truly and objectively considers the extent and the challenges, as well as the depth of those challenges that we encountered in 1994, what has happened and what we have achieved since 1994 is frankly quite impressive. We have traveled a long journey to get to where we are, and the phenomenal changes that have taken place is something that, comrades, we should never forget, even as we are going through new challenges and new difficulties. Millions of South Africans have been raised out of poverty and now have a number of things and benefits that they did not have in prior to 1994. They didn't have housing, they didn't have access to electricity, they didn't have water and sanitation and other basic needs. That did not exist. Access to health care and education have been greatly expanded. Now, we do need to sit back and ask ourselves what it was like in 1994 and what it is like today. The census that we've just had has revealed a great deal about the progress that we have made. Even over the last 10 years, we've been able to make significant strides and progress. For example, the percentage of households in formal dwellings rose from 78% in 2011 to almost 90% in 2022. People who now live in formal houses and no longer living in, say, thatch-roofed mud houses and so forth. That, comrades, is a phenomenal achievement. You don't find it easily anywhere on our continent. And that is due to the struggles that you have waged, led by the African National Congress. And you ought to give the African National Congress a good round of applause for that progress. Now, I often give this example, that I have found no country on our continent which has built 4 million houses and given them free to our people, where we just call an old lady, an old man, or a middle-aged woman and say, here is a house for free, with electricity, with running water, and mostly with a toilet inside. I have not come across such a country. Only here in South Africa do I find such a country, right here in Mzansi, Africa. Now, this is part of the evidence of the progress we've made. The other day I was reflecting on what we have done with regards to education, higher education. And as I reflected on it, I heard the minister say, President, we spend 48 billion rand every year to send 1 million young people to our universities and colleges. There are problems about managing that money, but the fact is we have established a system through which we are able to fund the children of poor parents and parents who cannot afford. We therefore have given credence to what the Freedom Charter said, we have opened the doors of learning for young people in our country. Not many countries on our continent can claim to have done that. We have done it. So, comrades, there's a lot of evidence of concrete progress that should give us encouragement as we confront the challenges of the present. However, much more needs to be done. And in the end, what the ANC-led government has garnered over the past years is the experience, is the ability to do the work. And all we want is that the ANC should do the work better than what it has done in the past. Because only they can do better. I don't see any other who can do as well as the African National Congress has done. The creation of a capable developmental state is fundamental to the transformation of our society and to further improve the lives of our people. And integral to a developmental state is a capable criminal justice system that can effectively deal with crime and corruption. Under difficult conditions, our ANC government is working to build such a criminal justice system. Tackling crime, comrades, is fundamentally about our people's well-being and their sense of security. But it is also important for economic and social development, because creating a safe environment for the people of our country to fully participate in economic and social life in our country is non-negotiable. Our ANC government will therefore continue to expand the necessary human and other resources to ensure that people feel safe and they are safe. Now, in the State of the Nation address last year, we announced that we would embark on a massive recruitment and training process of additional police personnel. In December last year, the new recruits graduated from various police academies. 10,000 trainees will be recruited annually for the next 2 financial years, bringing the total number in the current 3-year period to 30,000 that we will have recruited. Now, that is phenomenal. That is a huge increase. And you could say there are risks and dangers because we are doing it all very quickly. Yes, we are in a hurry. We are in a hurry to deal with the criminality in our country. Over the years, the number of police members or personnel to population had become unskewed. And now we are trying to correct that so that we have more police to defend and have our people feeling safe per population number on a 100,000 basis. Of these that we have recruited, close on to 3,000 will be allocated to the South African Police Service as detectives. So they will be trained as detectives, and we will also be posting a number of them in specialized units of the police, as we are doing now. We must acknowledge that we still have some way to go before we have a satisfactory ratio between police personnel and the population. The more police we have on the beat, in the streets, and the more police we've got working in specialized units, the more we will be able to bring down the levels of criminality in our country, although there are many other things that we have to do in tandem and at the same time. Popcru has a vital role in ensuring that South Africa is a safe place, free of crime. And that role, to me, has been so well articulated by your president each time I have met him. He has always come up with a number of very good ideas on how we can implement a number of strategies to fight crime. The Union and its members must be part of refining our country's approach as well as philosophy to fighting crime. The people of our country expect the members of Popcru, as with all members of the police and correctional services, to be fully committed and focused on combating criminals. The people look to the members of this union to defend and to serve them as well. Now, members of the police service are amongst the most prominent frontline workers that interface with the South African people. The ability of our police to fight crime is for many people a measure of the capability of the state as a whole. I often say that when our people interface with the police, that they have the feeling that they are interfacing with the state. You, as members of the police, as member of the prisons cohort, you are the ones who, as you deal with our people, they see the state in you. They see the government in you. They see protection. They see safety. They see everything that is capable that the state can do. So the police, therefore, need to heed the concerns of the members of the public about instances when the police have been seen as not being responsive. Worse, when the police are seen to be in compromising positions, it becomes a blow to the standing of the state. The state must therefore be represented by yourselves. Your face, your presence, your uniform is a clear representative. It is the personification of the state. And I would like you to keep that in mind as you execute your work, as you go about executing your policing, your prison duties, your traffic duties, and all other duties, whether you are in the office or on the beat or wherever you are. Where the police fall short of what is required of them, we must correct the problem. And if any police are involved in compromising situations like criminal activity themselves, like we sometimes see and not always, we must act quickly and decisively and ensure that they feel the full might of the law. The police must work to strengthen community policing forums. We've come out with this strategy, and Popcru has been very much a part of crafting this strategy of community policing forums, having arrived at the conclusion that fighting crime is not the preserve of the police alone. It is a community matter. All of community needs to join in to ensure that we fight crime. So therefore, the one strategy that we have come up with is to ensure that we have community policing forums where we get our people to participate in working with the police, in helping the police to fight criminality in our communities. Now, the police must naturally take the lead in all this to make our community policing forums work. Because if the police are not actively involved and leading the process, these forums will not work. It is through these forums that the police can forge greater cooperation and collaboration with communities in fighting crime. I'm told that where these community policing forums work, levels of criminality naturally go down, because there is a very effective relationship between the police as well as the community policing forums. We have allocated money to the workings of the community policing forums, and we would like that money to be properly used to ensure that it does indeed strengthen the community policing forum strategy that we've put in place. Comrade President Tebekulu, we welcome the firm stance that Popcru has taken against gender-based violence and femicide. You have come out as a clear example of what our unions need to do, the positions that they need to take. Our priority must be to prevent the violence that men perpetrate against women. We must work together to forever end such violence. And I see wonderfully so that even in your conference, almost half the delegates here are women. Now, it's a pity I'm not seeing you in your duty uniform. On Armed Forces Day, I often go and look and see our soldiers, our seamen and women, our Air Force members, donned in their uniform. And I often see those who are in the infantry, women and men, but of course especially women, who carry these big guns and have their red lipstick on. And I always boast that this is the only army in the world that I have seen where we have women carrying big guns, the big guns, and proudly displaying those guns with their absolute beauty and their lipstick on. And I often ask myself a question, no, ofake I lipstick, uzawudubula nini? So you have made a great deal of progress, and we must be proud as a country that we have populated a sector which was the main domain of men with a lot of women. And we are very proud that, Comrade Tebekulu, even in your own union, you have a really good balance between men and women. So I'd like to thank you for the work that you've been doing in that regard. But having said that, a critical part of our response to gender-based violence is to improve the ability of our criminal justice system to investigate these crimes and to effectively prosecute them. Precisely what you were saying. We've therefore dedicated resources and effort to equipping police stations and training police personnel to support and assist survivors of gender-based violence. We must all work together to ensure that the survivors of gender-based violence get the support they need from the police and that the perpetrators get the lengthy prison sentences that they deserve. We have heard what COSATU and several of its affiliates have said, that there must be more spent to employ workers in frontline services, in the police, in correctional services, in the NPA, in SARS, and other services. While we may have very limited resources at present, and while we must manage our public finances carefully, we will ensure that we do not compromise the provision of services to those South Africans who need them most. And in fact, what we did say was that we are going to make sure that we protect the services that our government does in relation to health, education, and policing as well. So much as we are facing enormous fiscal challenges, we have said to the people of South Africa, as clearly articulated by the Minister of Finance, that these are the services that we're going to protect. Because we know that criminality is one priority area that South Africans are most concerned about. So we will make sure that we continue to strengthen the police service, yes, as well as SARS, as well as prisons, and we will make sure that the work that you do continues uninterrupted. In fact, as I said earlier, even in SONA, we are going to be recruiting more to come and swell your ranks so that we deal with the spectre of criminality as much as we possibly can. We agree that the conditions of employment of the police must be improved, particularly when it comes to things like danger pay. Yes, things like housing. Now, I often go to the very sad service where we remember those who have fallen in service, where I have the very sad moment of meeting the widows as well as those who have lost their wives, who have been killed in service, and the children. That I always find a heart-wrenching moment. And when the issue of danger pay for the police was raised, I felt that it was duly deserved. You do deserve to have danger pay because you put your lives on the line for the people of South Africa. And we want to thank you for that. And you do so without any hesitation, without any doubt, and I have seen how some of you go all out in defense of our people. As South Africans, as we have watched how our police men and women are now taking the fight and the battle to criminals, and how you are tackling the cash and transit heist, and how you are dealing with illegal miners, and how you are dealing with all those who do wrong, the construction mafia. And I know when you do that, you are putting your lives in danger. And I cannot but applaud you for the absolutely fantastic work that we are seeing you doing right now. And I do hope that the people of South Africa continue to recognize the success that you are making of many of the interventions that are being made. We are making great interventions, bringing about change. When it comes to gender-based violence, as I said, we've been training our police to be more sensitive in dealing with gender-based violence. We are recruiting more and more police to come and join your ranks. We are addressing and have addressed in part the issue of danger pay and your conditions of employment, including the challenges that you have with housing, is something that we are also going to address. So all these matters yes, it does sadden me that many of you who are police officers are having to live in fairly unacceptable places because we have not streamlined our housing policy well for you. You are there as the defenders of our people, and you ought to have good conditions of employment. You've got to be treated with the respect and the dignity that behoves well for our country, and that we will do. We also need, yes, to promote and enhance collective bargaining in the interests of both workers and employers. I know that this is a recurring issue where you may have a sense that we are not adhering to collective bargaining processes, and I can tell you now we are committed to collective bargaining. President Popcru said, President, this time round, we don't want to be getting involved in arguments. All we want to do is to have unity, the unity that is going to take us forward. And I agree that we must remain united. And I was very pleased to hear that Popcru is united. There's no division here. So Popcru, being a very united organization, encourages us to call out for greater unity, particularly speaking as the president of the Popcru National Congress, as we go to the 2024 elections. We expect that Popcru will continue to play its role as part of the alliance, an important component of our alliance, to make sure that the ANC emerges victorious, as it should and as it must and as it will. Bayathanda noma abathandi. While things are difficult, we have made important progress, comrades, in several areas. Though it has been slow, we are steadily bringing about those allegedly responsible for state capture to justice. As I said in my address last Monday, over the last 4 years, the NPA has taken 34 state capture and other corruption cases to court involving a number of accused people. So progress is being made. The freezing of the assets of a number of people who have been alleged to have been involved has also been taking place. Illegal mining is a burden on our mining communities, and the South African Police Service is making inroads in terms of shutting down illegal operations, unregulated coal yards, and unregistered second-hand dealers. And we urge communities in our country to work closely with law enforcement agencies to make an even bigger dent in this area. While we work, comrades, to tackle crime, we must work with equal vigor to tackle the social and economic factors that cause crime, because the criminality we see is interrelated with the socioeconomic position of our people. So as we address criminality, we've also got to address the socioeconomic conditions under which our people live. Now, we will continue as a government to address the issue of poverty and provide relief to millions of South Africans, as we've often sought to do. We have announced the extension of the SRD grant, what they call the 350. We are going to extend it because right now it is assisting close on to 9 million people in South Africa to survive and to get by, particularly now with the cost of living having gone up and also with prices having reached skyrocket levels, because that provides poverty relief and allows recipients to look for jobs and engage in economic activity. The ANC government continues to support millions of South Africans through social grants, public employment programs, and other means of social support. We will soon be embarking on an election campaign that will be fought throughout the country. Now, this is where you as members will have to play a key role. Members of the alliance, that is. Our municipalities must also function and serve the people of our country properly. And this they need to do if we are going to demonstrate to our people that the ANC-led government in various parts of the country is there to serve them. As the ANC, we have, for example, noted an improvement in electricity supply. We are addressing this challenge, and in the Gauteng province, as this will also follow in a number of other provinces, where, for instance, electricity has been in short supply for quite a long time due to the breakage of transformers. Transformers are now being reconnected, reinstalled, relit, rewired, and our people are becoming happier and happier. We will continue to do that throughout the country because we want to demonstrate that we are indeed a government that is sensitive to the needs of our people. While the power grid has yet to be stabilized sufficiently, we can see some of the benefits of the work that we are doing since, for instance, we came out with the Electricity Action Plan, and since we also appointed a Minister of Electricity. As worker leaders, you must lead in establishing the various structures in our communities that are going to address the challenges of our people. We find that when we have leaders, particularly those leaders in unions, who naturally should be well connected with the struggles and the needs of our people, where those leaders operate and where they connect people and where they work in communities, we find that the incidents of dissatisfaction go down, and those issues that need to be addressed are often properly addressed through various structures. As the Alliance, we must become more focused as we move closer to the election. We have traveled a difficult road towards the renewal of our movement and the rebuilding of our society. We have come far, but we still have much to do. I noticed that in the political report presented by the President, you touch on a number of issues that have to do with the state of our nation, have to do with the political landscape in our nation. And you also touch on the issues that the ANC itself has to address to properly renew itself. And when I went through that political report, I realized then that, yes, Popcru is truly a part of the Congress movement. And being part of the Congress movement means that you adhere to the values, the principles, and the traditions of the Congress movement that have served this country well from 1912. So I applaud you. So I applaud you as Popcru, because you remain progressive, you remain committed to the values and the principles that have guided our movement. Even as I came in, I saw quite a number of you pledging publicly your solidarity with the people of Palestine. And I thank you for that, because Because if there was a time when the people of Palestine, who are being subjected to a form of genocide on a daily and hourly basis, ever needed support, this is the time when the democratic and progressive movement in our country needs to stand up and support the cause of the Palestinians, particularly their call for a two-state solution in the Middle East, ensuring that there's an Israeli state as well as a Palestinian state. Now, there are many people around the world who are pledging their solidarity, even in Western countries, and in Arab countries, in African countries. And I know that Popcru will actively continue to support that important struggle. They're fighting a struggle about their lives, about their identity, about their self-determination, and about their existence. Let us support them, and thank you very much for supporting that cause. It's to complete the process of renewal and rebuilding. As the ANC and as the Alliance and as the broader democratic movement, we must go all out with a clear determination to win the elections. We're not going into this election, as some people would suggest, that we are going in to be in some coalition with some parties or whatever. We are not in this to go into a coalition. We are in this for an outright victory that is going to make sure that the ANC is returned to power. We have seen what coalitions can do. We have seen how, through these coalitions, those areas where the coalitions have become paralyzed and unable to serve the interests of our people. So our task is to secure a clear mandate for renewal and rebuilding of our country, led by the African National Congress. This, comrades, is our historic mission as a revolutionary alliance, and it is well within our means. But it does not mean that we do not need to work hard. We will need to campaign hard. We will need to remain united, and we will need to humble ourselves and to be honest with our people. The words of Chief Albert Luthuli remain as true today as they were 70 years ago. Together we are the spear and the shield of the people of South Africa. Let us safeguard the rights of the people of this country, and let us fight for their interests, for their development, and indeed for their prosperity. What pleases me as I conclude, President Gabekulu, is that Popcru being united, Popcru being a formidable union in our trade union landscape, has it all within itself to make a real meaningful contribution to address the issue of criminality, one of our key priorities, and also to work hard to secure a decisive victory for the African National Congress, your African National Congress. Thank you very much.